my favorite things about preparedness and self-sufficiency. I just thought this would be fun. And, I've talked about these things a lot in separate videos, but I just thought, let's just do it as a list of my favorite things. And you guys share your favorite things about, whether it be gardening or putting up food or having a rain catchment system, whatever it is. What's your favorite thing about that? And I will be reading my list, starting off with number one. Well, even though this isn't necessarily in order of importance, I think number one's pretty good. Less fear, more peace. It doesn't matter what it is you're putting up or doing for yourself. It brings less fear and more peace. It's more calming. And so a lot of people think that, oh, if you're trying to be prepared, you're a doomsday prepper and you're scared of everything. That means you're going to, yeah, some people are like that, but living in fear does nothing for you. It's going to make you more unhealthy. The whole idea of putting up food and preparing for not just the worst case scenarios, but the simple case things that happen to everybody all the time, no matter who they are or what they do. And just there's this peace you have. It's like, less fear, more peace. Okay, that definitely it has to be number one because that covers. You think so? I think he agrees. The next one I have is having what you need when you need it. And so that can be anything. Like, Patrick likes to, when he's got to go buy nails or screws or bolts or washers, he always buys extra to have it on hand. And, or he saves things from other things that he's dismantled, just like we might save zippers and Velcro and elastic and buttons off of old clothes when we're discarding them and using the fabric for something else. When you save all that stuff, then it's like, I don't know how many times it's that either one of us have been like, oh, this broke or I need this. And you go look in your stash and look, I have it because I either recycled it or I stocked up on it, knowing it's something that I most likely will need replacements of. Fuses, there's another one, fuses for whatever, batteries, etc., etc., etc. Having what you need when you need it. Now, specifically when it comes to food, I always have the ingredients I need on hand, always. So if I feel like making a pie, I can make a pie. I don't have to run down to the store and buy the ingredients to make a pie. If I feel like making a specific dinner, you know what? I haven't made ravioli in a while. I'm going to make ravioli. Guess what? I have all the ingredients on hand that I can make that ravioli or spaghetti or pizza, talking more Italian type food, or maybe a shepherd's pie. Well, not so much shepherd's pie, but cottage pie. Cottage pie is made with beef rather than lamb. It doesn't matter what it is I feel like making, unless it's something I've never made before, so it might have an odd ingredient that I would have never thought to stock up on. We lost our garage to a fire 10 years ago, and 30 years accumulated nuts, bolts, pieces, parts, etc. were lost. It was so hard to do anything after that. But, and that's, Michelle, I appreciate you bringing that up, and I'm also sorry that happened. It does say it was 10 years ago. And that's more of the sad part is you can't, and I've spoken about this before. I have a video that, it's like, where are you putting your faith? As much as we like to be prepared and have these things stocked up, we also cannot put our faith 100% into what we have on hand, because it can be taken away from us at any time, as we've seen with the floods and the different things that have happened. So, as a believer, my faith first and foremost has to be in God, but I'm also going to be diligent and do the best I can, and if you're able, think of other places that you can also store things. This isn't possible for everyone, but think of other places, if you have them, that you can store things where, like, if this gets damaged over here, you still have this option. That's a lot harder though when you're talking about losing a whole home, or Dad's here, so he's all excited, to fire, to floods. And so it's just somebody's pretty excited to see Daddy and the big ball that he brought in for him. He's pretty excited. But anyway, peace of mind. Yes, peace of mind, definitely. Okay, so the ingredients, that was point number 3. Point number 4, really kind of goes right along with it. No need to run to the store to get stuff. In fact, I think that, yeah, no need to run to the store to get what I need. That means I can just relax. And I don't have to go, especially if it's an emergency and like there's a power outage, there's a whatever, and everybody's running to the store to get the same thing. You don't have to go down there and fight the crowds. You don't have to punch anybody in the eye. Sorry, I don't do that. I don't do that. But you don't have to. Or you don't have to worry about somebody punching you in the eye to get that last package of toilet paper. That's the kind of thing you don't have to put up with. You just say, I need this. Oh, that's right. It's back in my pantry. I'm going to go get it. It's pretty cool. Well, this one isn't in regards to food, but because we do have other forms, other backup ways to deal with stuff if we have a power outage. Because when you live where we live, it's just common sense. It's common sense anyway, but especially when you live in a place where power outages happen like 5, 6, 10 times a year, maybe. Some of them are planned, a lot of them are not. So you have ways to cover the necessities in the event of a power outage. So, we have I've talked about our solar setup, but we cannot be all year long dependent on our solar power. Because wintertime, when you live in a place that gets 120 to 160 inches of rain annually and at least 85, 90% cloud cover throughout the year, you cannot depend on that. Summertime, even on cloudy days, you can usually still collect enough solar power to keep your batteries topped off, depending on how much electricity you're using. But wintertime, you can't. But let's say it's the middle of winter. We have a power outage. We don't have enough solar power in the battery bank to run certain things. Well, we have backup plans. Well, we always have our wood stove that runs through about 9 months of the year. We have fires going. So I do all my cooking and coffee making and tea making and whatnot on my wood stove. It also dries my laundry because I have 2 clotheslines in front of it and so on and so forth. You guys know all this who follow me for any length of time. I say some of that though, because there's always new people that, don't know what we do. And, we have generators, we have gas and diesel. One of them we bought new. Everything else that we picked up was either a trade item or we bought used. And so we do have one diesel and maybe one gas one out at our other piece of property, which is really nice when we're having campouts out there and we need some extra lighting, it's getting too dark, or somebody needs to charge something. We've got that dealt with. So having our water catchment system, again, we're not 100% dependent on the water. We use it for all of anything we're going to, use to make coffee, tea, cook with, drink, etc. And then we use the public power for cleaning, showering, washing dishes and whatnot. Or did I say power? Public water. We could use the rainwater 100% in the wet part of the year, but in the middle of summer, no, because of all the gardens. Even with the 2,000 gallons of water stored underground, plus the 255-gallon drums above the ground, you would go through a lot of water. Sometimes we can have 3 months of dry. It doesn't always happen, but it's happened before. It's pretty rare here, but it can happen. And so, we're definitely would have to fall back on our city water for everything in that case. Or, if we use up all of the water and we're not getting more rain. So the point though in that is that knowing I have all these backup systems, that I can do things like use my treadle machine. I don't have to depend on electricity for that. I've got this oven that you can't see over here that has only been used a couple of times, but it's there if I need it, that runs on gas. If I need to bake something, like a pie or bread, and either I'm not burning I don't have a fire in the wood stove, or it's just something I would rather bake in a real oven. I do have a stovetop oven though, too. It takes a lot longer to do anything in there, but it is a nice backup. Let's say if I don't have any fuel to run this oven, don't have any public power, don't have enough solar power to run my toaster oven, I can still bake on my wood stove. I can still bake a pie, bake biscuits, bake bread. Knowing that we can get by if we don't have public water or public power. We know we can get by. We know we can make it. We've done it many, many times. Water is less likely to be an issue, but it has happened where they've had to shut the water off to the whole neighborhood because they're doing repair work. There was a main break, whatever. And then my last point about being more prepared, less doctors, less doctor visits. Why? Because I can grow a lot of my own medicine. And I'm constantly learning as I go. Whenever you have a new ailment that you've never had to deal with before, like when I torn my knee, my ACL, the positive thing about when something like that happens is now, either I can't remember, I know I read what's good for this, but I can't remember, or that's a new one for me to deal with. Let me look up and see what I have that can help myself with this, or might be growing wild. Like one of the things I'm starting to learn more about is the dock. We have dock growing, and I believe it's yellow dock, growing wild. It gets really big. A lot of great health benefits in that. And I'll be doing a video about that. But yeah, it's growing wild. And then, just as I was kind of looking into it, I find out there's a lot of people that intentionally grow it because of its many health benefits. You can use it as a food and you can use it as medicine. And it's related to, it's in the buckwheat family, which would mean that you could take the seeds and grind them up and use it as flour. So I say all that because it's like, every time either you get a new weed in your garden, or you get a new ailment, it encourages you to start looking into learning about more things, more aspects of this herb that you might already grow, or more aspects of this weed that came up that you thought was just a weed, and come to find out it's got a lot of medicinal benefits. So when you learn this stuff, the less dependent you become on having to go to the doctor.